Now that we are in the final months of 2024, what looms for us in 2025 is going to be, quite frankly, very interesting because we know that a lot of studios right now, not all, but a lot of them are beginning to back off on their ideology, on their overall agenda. Whether or not that actually is going to stick or is going to actually stay the way it is right now is really a question up for grabs. We know that a lot of studios are getting a lot of flack, they're getting a lot of backlash, especially when it comes to PR disasters. One of which has a lot to do with the Walt Disney Company dealing with the whole Rachel Zegler situation, as well as other studios dealing with Rachel Zegler as an actress. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. So I've said this numerous times, I think that a lot of these actors and actresses that really try to shoehorn their message into their careers is not the right move. It's best to leave politics out of your social media, out of your acting or acting, career path, if you will, whether it's an actor that's already established or one that is trying to climb up the ladder. It's best to leave your overall views out of that and just act. That's why you actually are in that actual business. But what's interesting here has a lot more to do with Rachel Zegler. Now, we all know that she actually had a lot of backlash in recent days after she made a lot of political statements that completely backfired. And this isn't the, thing that Rachel Zegler did for the first time. She's done things like this numerous times that got her in a lot of trouble with other studios. And what's interesting here has a lot to do with the most recent studio that decided to actually throw Rachel Zegler away and fire her from a quote-unquote trilogy. Let's get into this, shall we? Now, specifically, what's really intriguing about this is that with the entire film industry and the media now in complete panic for the past week and a half, some studios of which have made massive changes behind the scenes, while others are still doubling down on their agenda. Now, one major development that is now active involves actress Rachel Zegler, after she too was fired from a major Hollywood studio after she made some political statements that backfired completely, and how that caught up to her behind the scenes from her new role with Blumhouse Productions for a brand new horror film / trilogy that she was recently fired from quickly after the backlash for Rachel went viral. It turns out that Blumhouse has been working on their own version of a new horror franchise to compete, get this, against the Scream franchise, something revolutionary that was set to star Rachel Zegler as the main lead for what was best described to be a trilogy of horror films that she was recently fired and removed from, and how Blumhouse is now making a swift move to recast the role as fast as possible that once belonged to Rachel Zegler. Over the past year and a half, Rachel has been removed from various Disney projects as well after she made her comments about Snow White, and other studios also dropped her from other roles. Now, Blumhouse is the most recent studio to call it quits with the actress, as this was not just limited to her political comments that she made on social media, but also she was described to be difficult to work with on set when it came to the horror trilogy that was set to be announced by this December. Now, that announcement, of course, has now been put on hold after Zegler was given the boot from the studio. Zegler, as it turns out, before she made her political comments, was very annoyed with the Blumhouse executives for making the film plans to be too violent for Rachel's character, and this was described to be a part of the creative differences that they actually had with Rachel, and which she was demanding to be changed, and for changes to be made for her character's story, which only made things difficult for the writers on board of this project. Now, this project is said to be a revolutionary project that Blumhouse is actively working on that they hope will outperform the Scream franchise. And this horror trilogy was actually set to pay Zegler an estimated $10 million in total, mind you, for all three movies combined. A margin that she completely agreed with, that she will now no longer be getting, of course, because of what happened. Blumhouse is already on track to recast the role as soon as this January, and it is indeed creating a minor setback with the release date for their new horror trilogy that they hope will reshape the horror genre in a brand new fashion and could not afford Rachel Zegler's PR disaster. Now, guys, let me stop here for a moment. Now, this is something very similar to what happened to the cast of Scream 6 when they dragged their real-world views and their political views into their acting careers. Not a good move, and I keep repeating this on and on, pretty much over again, is that you should never drag that into your career, whether it's acting, or whether it's the fact that you're a singer or a performer, whatever it is. Leave it out of there, because it's not going to help anybody, right? It's not going to make things any better. If anything, it's going to make things worse, especially when it comes to Rachel Zegler, who can never learn when to actually shut up. Let's be honest here. The only reason why she made that apology is that, yes, Disney did get on her case. We'll talk about that in just a second. It did turn out to be that Bob Iger and the board are really fed up with Rachel Zegler. This is exactly why they are on track of canceling her actually performing on stage at the world premiere for Snow White 2025 by this upcoming March. So moving on forward, Zegler was also demanded by the Walt Disney Company executives to apologize to the public after making such statements, and is already facing a cancellation, like I said before, from performing a song at the world premiere for Snow White 2025, which was going to give her some residual payments. This yet again was the latest firing in the film industry since a week and a half ago, as multiple actors' comments begin to backfire. And like I said, there's a lot of firings happening lately in the Hollywood bubble, and not only did the bubble pop, but you now have a lot of fire spreading. There are a lot of actors, actresses, singers, writers, producers, directors, I can go on about this all day, really beginning to become unhinged and saying the most outlandish, ridiculous things out there that divide their fan base, that divide their followers, and those who have followed them for many years or many months if they're up and coming. And this is really becoming a more driven reality now, that you have a lot of these studios beginning to say, all right, quiet down, apologize to the public and let's move on. But it's not necessarily working in the end, because now a lot of studios don't even want to take a risk with some of these actresses that have said such things with other, portions of the general public that are associated with different studios. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting to see how this movie is going to perform now without Rachel Zegler, whether or not they're going to cancel their plans for this new horror trilogy, and what's also going to happen by Disney when it comes down to Snow White 2025. If anything, I think that this is only going to drag the film down further, below rock bottom. They're going to hit bedrock at this point, because based on those comments that she said, it really created a lot more backlash than where she was at just about a month and a half ago. But overall, I would love to hear what everyone has to say about the Hollywood bubble, the media, and what's going on right now, especially the whole Rachel Zegler situation. You would think that after she said what she said about a year and a half ago, she would have learned to actually stay quiet. She hasn't been quiet the past 3 months. She's been repeatedly attacking the Disney fans that once supported Snow White. But overall, I would like to hear what you all have to say about Rachel Zegler, her loss with Blumhouse Productions, and that horror trilogy. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.